Right now, new numbers released overnight show Wisconsin students are doing worse in school. We'll tell you where kids are seeing a decline in the classroom.
And it's quiet right now in Rock County, but the threat might not be over yet. We have the latest on what you need to know about a flash flood watch in the area.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks. Thanks for waking up with us on this Thursday, September 12th. Christina Laurie keeping an eye on any flooding concerns out in Rock County. Also, a watch in place across the viewing area, really.
Yeah, all of us are dealing with the potential for some flooding today. We're not done with the rain just yet. You may not be hearing any raindrops outside, but the rain will return later on today. Today is an alert day for southern Wisconsin. One round of rain already moving through most of the area this morning. It returns again later this afternoon into this evening. Another 1 to 2 inches is possible, and that's on top of what we've already gotten overnight. Now, the heavy rain overnight, especially in Grant County, has prompted a flash flood warning. That's in effect until 7:45 this morning. For the rest of the area, in fact, all of southern and central Wisconsin, it is a flash flood watch. That's in effect until 1 a.m. on Friday. Here's the most current picture on the radar map, and you can see a diminishing trend with the rain. So that is good news. The rain is going to come to an end this morning and continue to lift northward out of the area. No raindrops left here in Madison. As we go through the afternoon, though, temperatures will climb into the 70s with very humid conditions. A little bit cooler than yesterday, but that rain returns later this afternoon into the evening hours. Here's a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning. Things have been pretty quiet so far, and it looks like that trend continues here in Madison. Maybe a little tougher to get out of bed this morning with all that rain overnight. Kind of a gray start to the day. No accidents, though, to report. So in this case, early bird gets the worm.
Boy, a lot of rainfall for this time of the year. Not really the time of the year that you want this rain either.
No, we had quite a bit. We're measuring in inches this week, which is pretty rare for September.
All right, Hattie, thank you.
You're welcome.
First this half hour, we are keeping an eye on cities across our area for any damage from heavy rain overnight.
That includes Beloit, where we find Christina Laurie live this morning with the latest from there. Christina, good morning to you.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. All's quiet in Beloit right now, but had you been here about 8 hours ago, you would have seen stalled cars in this parking lot, according to many people on social media. That's just one of the examples of how extreme the 2 to 4 inches of rain that fell here in Beloit over the past 24 hours has been. The Rock County Sheriff's Department tells us they responded to 19 different calls about reports of flooding. Many of those calls came from drivers whose cars were stalled out. Now, the good news here is that none of those drivers were injured, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on as you start your day with even more rain in the forecast. We're going to be out here all morning keeping an eye on flooding for you as well. But on your drive to work, also keep an eye out for downed trees. And please remember, if you see a standing pool of water in front of you, turn around, don't drown. Josh and Leah.
Good reminders there. Christina Laurie reporting for us this morning. Thank you, Christina.
The City of Madison Engineering Division is still investigating solutions to prevent flooding in the future. At this phase of their plans, they're touring neighborhoods to learn more about what flooded and what infrastructure they could implement to prevent more flooding. They said it's going well so far and should be able to get more modeling for plans out by next spring. We spoke with people that live in one of the neighborhoods the division toured, and they said they're happy the city is doing something, but they hope for solutions as quickly as possible, especially if they want to leave.
I worry about when I want to sell this, what kind of reaction we'll get, and how they will affect the price of my house. And I'm sure I can speak that I'm not the only one in this end of the block who feels that way.
The city said while they're still gathering data, if you notice spots that flood during rainstorms like overnight, take a picture and send that to them so they can try and find a solution while they're looking at the rest of the city.
And with multiple rounds of heavy rain possible over the next few days, Sauk County leaders are worried about possible flash flooding. Right now, there is free sand and sandbags available to county residents. You can pick them up at the West Baraboo Garage off of Highway 136. Officials there say if you've experienced flooding in the past, now is the time to prepare. You can, of course, stay up to date and prepared on the go by downloading our Channel 3000 First Alert Weather and Traffic app. It includes interactive radar, up-to-the-hour forecasts, as well as a 10-day forecast, and it's all free. Again, that's the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app available in your app store.
Coming up on 6:05 right now, this week's rainfall is also impacting farmers and could delay them even more. WPR says 72% of Wisconsin's corn crop is about 2 weeks behind the 5-year average. Now, that's not too bad, according to experts, considering the historically late planting season. 85% of the state's soybeans are about 3 weeks behind.
We could see a verdict as early as today in the trial of a retired Catholic priest who had worked in Fort Atkinson. 2 more witnesses are set to testify this morning after at least 10 took the stand yesterday in Jefferson County Court. William Nolan is facing 6 felony counts of second-degree sexual assault of a child. The accuser was a former altar boy at St. Joseph's Catholic School, where Nolan was a priest at the time.
Also happening today, the executive director of a Madison after-school program facing child porn charges is due back in court. Jacob Tissue has a bond hearing scheduled for 10:30 this morning. You'll remember he was arrested 2 weeks ago by McFarland police on suspicion of a dozen counts of having child pornography. At a court appearance last week, Tissue was ordered not to have any contact with children other than his own. He's been put on leave as the head of Madison School and Community Recreation pending the results of that case.
New this morning, numbers just released by the Department of Public Instruction overnight show Wisconsin students are doing worse in English and math. Test results from the past year show about 39% of students tested as proficient or advanced in English language arts. About 40% of students were proficient or advanced in math. Both of those numbers are down about 1% from last year.
Happening today, all Madison Public Library locations will be closed for a staff in-service day. You can still return your items in book drops, though. The library's databases and downloadable audiobooks and ebooks will still be available online, and those regular hours will pick right back up tomorrow.
We have an update to a story we first told you about this week. The laptops stolen from the Bridge Lake Point Winona Neighborhood Center belong to their Latino Adult Workforce Development Program. Madison police say someone broke through the window overnight Monday. They got away with laptops that were used for GED, ESL, and computer skills classes. The center's executive director says residents and staff feel violated.
So just because we lost 19 computers, it doesn't stop us from doing our job. But there is a sense of they broke into our home and they took something from us that we use to serve people.
Tom Solist says while the theft is unfortunate, it's not getting in the way of their momentum. The community center is in the process of building a new facility right now. In October, they'll hold a meeting with residents to talk about what they'd like to see in the new space, including a better security system.
6:07 is your time this morning. Marquette County law enforcement officials are working to improve highway safety while building relationships with the Amish community. The Sheriff's Department says they've seen a couple of car and buggy crashes over the past few years. A special Amish liaison works with the 3 Amish communities in that area, hearing their concerns and educating them about laws, including the need for new lights on the backs of their buggies. The department also worked with the Amish on making sure a stretch of Highway 22 construction will include 6-foot shoulders on a 5-mile stretch so buggies can move over completely.
Being a liaison is nothing more than developing friendships. Having that dialogue and communication with them really helped us, help them, and help the motoring public.
The Sheriff's Department also has a partnership with Columbia and Green Lake counties, working with the Amish communities there as well.
To campaign 2020 now. For the first time tonight, the top polling Democratic presidential candidates will face off on the same stage. This is the 3rd presidential primary debate, but unlike the others, it will only span one night. Elizabeth Warren will face off against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the first time on the stage, which could draw new contrasts between the candidates. That debate starts at 7.
Right now, an analytics firm is estimating President Trump's trade war with China has already cut U.S. employment by 300,000 jobs compared to the likely employment levels without it. This includes jobs lost by firms struggling with tariffs and jobs that would have been created but haven't because of reduced economic activity. Yahoo Finance says that by the end of 2020, if it continues on its current course, the trade war could kill 900,000 U.S. jobs. Manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, and retail are the sectors most affected.
Tonight, National Guard representatives will answer your questions about the potential arrival of F-35 jets at Truex Field. At last night's meeting, those impacted by the proposal talked about this project. Alders Syed Abbas, Grant Foster, and Marsha Rummel organized the listening session for neighbors in the area. Tonight's meeting will be at the Alliant Energy Center. It runs from 5 until 6:30.
More local news now. Badgers have another reason to celebrate this morning. The University of Wisconsin-Madison has risen to 13th among public institutions in U.S. News and World Report's latest college rankings. Overall, UW-Madison ranks 46th in a two-way tie. Both rankings are higher than last year when UW-Madison was ranked 15th among publics and 49th overall. Those rankings include 292 national doctoral universities and are in the 2020 edition of America's Best Colleges.
Good for us.
That is awesome, yes.
Oh, yeah.
10 minutes past 6 o'clock right now, and still ahead for us on a Thursday morning. Vaping continues to top the headlines this week, with the Trump administration saying they'll now consider banning flavored e-cigarettes. Our health expert, Dr. Mara, is here in studio with us to discuss the latest in this vaping health crisis.
And we are tracking an alert day forecast. Hattie has the latest rain updates for your Thursday morning. That's when News 3 Now This Morning returns. Stay with us.
This
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio, which is really just an oversized puddle this morning after some pretty heavy rain overnight for southern Wisconsin. Madison not the only location picking up on some heavy rain. We have issued an alert day in the forecast because there's more rain on the way later on today into tonight. Another 1 to 2 inches is possible with some slightly higher amounts. Here's a look at the flood bulletins. It's a flash flood watch for all of southern Wisconsin. That goes until 1 a.m. on Friday. Looks like the National Weather Service in La Crosse has canceled that flash flood warning for Grant County a little earlier as the rain has come to an end. Here's a look at rain totals, though. You can see why we have those flash flood bulletins in effect. Pretty heavy rain on top of what we've already gotten this week. We're measuring rain in inches this week. We had anywhere from 3 to 4 inches across parts of Grant County and right along the state line south of Janesville. about 1.5 to 2 inches on the south side of Madison. Slightly lighter amounts as you go north and east of Madison. And again this morning, the rain has continued to diminish for the region. We're looking at just some light shower activity for our northern viewing area at this time. As a warm front lifts into the area, there is still a chance for some rain, but it's most likely not going to occur until much later on this afternoon. That's when a cold front moves through, and you can see out ahead of that cold front, there's a line of showers and thunderstorms extending from Minneapolis once again down to Omaha this morning. That front will be working its way into the area this afternoon. There's the potential for some heavy rain as well as some strong storms. The biggest threat today, I think, is going to be gusty winds, and you can see that threat just moves into southwestern Wisconsin. Temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler today than they have been the last couple of days. Still 70s on the map, but those 70s are across Iowa and Illinois as well as Missouri this morning. We've dropped into the 60s with an east wind here in southern Wisconsin. And as we look at temperatures a little more closely, 57 actually in the Dells, 59 in Juneau, it's 60 in Watertown. Some of the warmest spots are right along the state line, where 63 is the current temperature in Janesville and Platteville. Even though temps are going to be a little cooler, it's still going to be muggy today with dew points in the mid-60s. Your future track forecast model shows you how the rain diminishes this morning. It's likely going to be dry as we head towards the lunch hour in most locations. High temperatures today, though, there is going to be quite a spread for the area. Only in the 60s north of Dane County, whereas temps will still climb into the mid-70s to the south. Cold front then brings that rain back into the area through the evening hours, but it comes to an end overnight and will be already drying out by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. But again, additional rain is likely to be 1 to 2 inches for many locations. Your extended forecast then has temps in the 70s for a couple of days. Mother Nature says, though, not time to pack away those summer clothes just yet. You'll want the sandals next week with nighttime lows in the 60s, daytime highs in the 80s. Let's get a look at your traffic maps now. We'll see what's happening on area roads. Sending it over to Jason Stone, who has all the details. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. No issues on the Beltline as of right now. All lanes are at the posted speed limit. Drivers are starting to gather at the Stoughton and Verona Road interchanges. There's an accident blocking the left lane on the southbound interstate beyond the Highway 19 West exit. Delays less than 5 minutes at this time on Verona Road at Highway PD. All other routes around Dane County are mostly clear. Brake lights on parts of East Wash heading downtown. Traffic elsewhere on the Isthmus and campus is sparse. With your first alert traffic, I'm Jason Stone.
Jason and Hattie, thank you both very much. Time right now is 6:17. We know vaping is on the minds of many parents, and it's apparently on top priority for the White House as well.
Yeah, you might have heard the Trump administration considering banning flavored e-cigarettes altogether. Dr. Mandir Maris here this morning to talk about the potential side effects, the effects on kids. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is all over the news right now. The lung illnesses that are coming from vaping.
It's lung illnesses, it's potential damage to your lungs, not just acutely, but maybe chronically. And what about the other damages that we haven't really heard about in the news, like the developing minds that are exposed to nicotine and other substances, as well as, of course, some reported deaths. So we have to remind people that right now there is an association, and a pretty strong one. We've seen hundreds of cases, and what links all these cases together is the fact that people use these vaping or e-cigarette products. So this is a really amazing push from the Trump administration in response to this to say that it's really gotten out of hand. We really have to regulate this better. So the first thing that they are thinking of doing is actually taking off from the market the flavored e-cigarettes. So what that means is, you know, when you vape or you use an e-cigarette, essentially what you're using is a substance, usually a liquid, but you can use other substances in there that are flavored. Now, a lot of these companies have been accused of marketing to the youth. So we're talking about teenagers, even children, people that should not really even have access to this legally, because in most states you have to be 18 or 21, but they have flavors like cotton candy and menthol and cucumber, mint, you know, really fun flavors that appeal to the youth. And unfortunately, for the first time in almost a decade where smoking had gone down, now we're seeing the vaping rising. And so this is getting a whole new generation of people that may never have been exposed to smoking or cigarettes addicted to this substance. So unfortunately, what is showing up in hospitals and to doctors' offices are people saying they have pneumonia-like symptoms. So we're talking about shortness of breath, coughing, chest pain, fever, possibly nausea, GI symptoms. And again, what's linking all these cases together is after reasonable treatment, maybe treating it like a pneumonia with antibiotics, people not getting better, what we're seeing is that vaping has linked everyone together. So the FDA, the American Lung Association, other organizations have come out and said, do not use e-cigarettes now. So what they have said is if you do not currently smoke, if you have never smoked, do not use the e-cigarettes till we kind of figure out what's happening. The Trump administration has stepped up and said they will eliminate or be probably eliminating the flavored cartridges. And ultimately the argument from these electronic cigarette companies has been that this was a product that was supposed to make smoking safer or a safer alternative to smoking. But what's happening here is people that have never been exposed to smoking before, again, like the youth, the teenage population, is now starting a substance that they may never have started before. So it's a public health crisis. It's definitely affecting our youth, and not to mention, of course, the minds of the youth. So these electronic cigarettes often have much higher nicotine contents than just a regular cigarette. So to a developing mind, we don't even know the long-term effects of that. So for now, the recommendation is really don't use these products. If you are using these products, to really be aware of the symptoms, shortness of breath, chest pain, fever, really be cognizant of talking to your doctor or going to the emergency room if necessary.
Very, very important topic that we will continue to cover. Thank you so much, Dr. Mara.
Yeah, great to be here.
Thank you very much. All right, 6:20 is your time right now. Brewers fans, don't give up hope yet. I know, seriously, this is good news. Well, I mean, somewhat good news. Christian Yelich's injury may not be as bad as initially thought, and the team continues its playoff push without him. We'll tell you when we could see him back on the field coming up next.
We are holding out hope, folks. Plus, Hattie monitoring an alert day forecast. She'll have the latest on possible showers and a flood watch that's coming up when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
6:24 on a Thursday morning, and I promise it's a new day, but yet it is still raining outside. Every day I wake up, I look out the shade, and I'm like, here we go again.
Tomorrow, Josh.
Tomorrow. There's always
The sun will
tomorrow.
come out tomorrow.
I was going to say, should we sing it?
Should we sing Annie today?
It's Friday. Yeah, it's supposed to be nicer tomorrow.
It is, but just one more day today. We have a lot of clouds, some heavy rain overnight. It is an alert day for southern Wisconsin. We're adding up the rain in inches. We've already gotten several inches here in Madison with another 1 to 2 on the way again tonight. So it's an alert day. Here are the flash flood bulletins. It's a flash flood watch for all of southern Wisconsin, this lighter green shaded area. The National Weather Service in La Crosse has replaced the flash flood warning with an aerial flood warning for parts of Grant County as well as parts of Iowa. And that's because the floodwaters are slowly starting to recede, but it's a slow process. So still some flooding concerns in Grant County. That aerial flood warning goes until 11:15. Now here's a look at what's happening on the radar map. Most of the rain really falling apart and lifting north. It's going to lift north of the interstate shortly this morning. A few light showers popping up across parts of Iowa. They'll continue to lift northward through the area. But the main round of rain expected later on today is much further back to the west. You can see those showers and thunderstorms. Those are along cold front that will move in later this afternoon into this evening. So it's not going to rain all day today, but it is going to be humid. Dew points are in the mid-60s today, still pretty high for September standards, so it's going to be a little sticky in the classroom. I think you should be able to get a lunch hour recess outside, but it may be raining as you head home from school. Temperatures will top in the 70s. Have a wonderful day.
Hattie, thank you very much. Time for our daily reminder of the annual Coats for Kids campaign underway. Even with the warm and humid temperatures this week, we've collected 96 more coats since our last check, giving us an even 200 so far in just the first few days. Remember, we're looking for coats and winter accessories of all sizes, especially stuff for kids before it gets cold outside.
You can check your closets for outgrown or seldomly used winter coats, hats, mittens, scarves, snowsuits, basically any winter item your kids don't use anymore. You can drop them off at any Clinky Cleaners through Saturday, October 5th. We will keep you up to date on the coat count every morning right here on News 3 Now this morning.
6:26 right now. Brewers fans can be cautiously optimistic this morning. Christian Yelich might not be done for the season after all. There are reports that Yelich doesn't need surgery and might only miss 6 weeks. He fouled a ball off his right knee in the first inning of the win Tuesday night against the Miami Marlins. A broken kneecap was supposed to keep him out for the rest of the season, but 6 weeks would take him to Game 2 of the World Series if the Brewers make it that far. Yelich was hitting .329 with 44 homers, 97 RBIs, and 30 stolen bases.
Here's hoping, folks. The Brewers are now tied for the wild card with the Cubs. Seems like Mike Moustakas is stepping up for the team. He just got back to the starting lineup after a wrist injury, and it didn't seem like he missed a beat. A 3-run homer for Moustakas gave the Brewers an early lead last night. Then, in the 9th, with the game tied at 5, Moustakas did it again, this time with a 2-run homer, sealing a win for the Brewers, their 6th straight. Final score, Brewers 7, Marlins 5. There's an afternoon game in Miami today.
The defending national champion Wisconsin Badger women's hockey team is expected to do great things again this season. The team is the preseason favorite to win the WCHA according to the coach's preseason poll. Minnesota is picked as a close second. The Badgers' Abby Rock of a co-season player of the year with teammates Sophie Shirley, Mackenzie Steffen, and goaltender Kristen Campbell also on the preseason WCHA team.
A Badger football player says his career is over. Tight end Xander Newville announced the decision on Twitter yesterday. He says he suffered yet another injury. He had 2 season-ending knee injuries in the first 5 years with the Badgers and was granted a 6th year of eligibility, but could never get back on the field. He says he'll start medical school next fall. A great option for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, 6:30 or 6:28 is your time right now. Still ahead for us, we've got the top 3 things you need to know this morning before you head out the door.
And heavy rains sweeping through Wisconsin overnight with more showers on the way for today. We're keeping an eye out for possible flash flood conditions and bringing you the latest updates on weather and traffic. That's when News 3 Now this morning returns.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for staying with us on this Thursday, September 12th. We have a flood watch in place across the viewing area, and we're also keeping an eye on the potential for storms popping up today.
Yeah, we'll get to Hattie with that update here in just a moment, but first let's get to the top 3 things that you need to know this morning. First up, the Trump administration says it is taking steps to ban flavored e-cigarettes. President Trump announced the effort in response to a recent surge in vaping among young people. The FDA is developing guidelines to remove all cigarette flavors except tobacco from the market. E-cig maker Juul says it will fully comply. The American Vaping Association expressed disappointment.
The second story we're following this morning, the Supreme Court says the Trump administration is allowed to enforce new rules aimed at keeping many Central American immigrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. The policy allows only migrants who have been denied asylum in another country or are victims of, quote, severe human trafficking to apply for asylum.
And rounding out the top 3 this morning, 10 leading Democratic candidates for president are set to debate tonight in Houston. Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, and 5 others will square off in the party's third 2020 debate. It starts at 7 o'clock tonight.
Those are the top 3 things to know on your Thursday. Hattie's keeping an eye on the weather and traffic for us. Hi, Habs.
Good morning, Leah and Josh. Yeah, a lot to talk about weather-wise today. It's an alert day for southern Wisconsin due to the potential for some heavy rain coming later on. We already had several inches of rain overnight and another 1 to 2 inches later today. Flash flood bulletins are in effect. It's a flash flood watch for all of southern Wisconsin until 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then it's an aerial flood warning for parts of Grant County until just before noon today. At this time, the rain is lifting to the north of the Madison area and actually north of the interstate. A few scattered showers lingering back to the south and west will continue to lift northeast throughout the morning. Probability of precipitation drops down through the midday hours at the lunch hour, but then quickly ramps back up as you head towards the late afternoon. Could be a wet commute home from work for some today. Temperatures will climb into the low 70s. Still very humid, but not quite as warm as yesterday. Let's get a look at those traffic maps this morning. An earlier accident on the interstate just north of Waunakee at Highway 19 has been cleared, so there are no other issues on the interstate at this hour. No big travel delays showing up yet in Madison either. So looks like you're headed into the city. You're still traveling at posted speeds. And that's your first alert traffic.
Thank you very much, Hattie. Rock County, one of those areas still under a flash flood watch yet this morning.
Yeah, Beloit was one of those places hit hard overnight, and that's where we find Christina Laurie live this morning with the very latest. Christina, what can you tell us?
Hi, Josh and Leah. If we had been in this parking lot of the Piggly Wiggly on Prairie Avenue in Beloit just about 8 hours ago, people on social media say we would have seen several cars stalled out. That's what we're also hearing from the Rock County Sheriff's Department. They responded to 19 different calls from drivers who called because their cars were stalled as a result of the 2 to 4 inches of rain that fell in just 24 hours here in Rock County. Now, the threat isn't over yet with a flash flood watch still in effect through the day today. More rain in the forecast. That rain has stopped right now, but on your drive to work, you might still see several downed trees. No reports of road closures, though, and the very good news is that there are no reports of injuries. Josh and Leah.
Christina Laurie continuing to report on that flood damage for us. Thank you very much, Christina.
Meanwhile, leaders in Sauk County are worried about possible flash flooding there as well as storms continue to roll through Wisconsin. Right now, there are free sand and sandbags available to county residents at the West Baraboo Garage off of Highway 136. Officials say that especially if you've experienced flooding in the past, now is the time to prepare.
Areas in Green Bay also have been evacuated from flooding farther north. People near Des Moines were advised to leave their homes and businesses yesterday. Pedestrians and drivers were told not to travel through the area. Flooding in De Pere caused a car to get stuck under a railroad bridge at Red Maple Rock as well. Brown County officials have closed multiple roads as a result of that flooding. We've heard of at least 19 different flooding instances just in Rock County.
Wow, 6:36 is your time right now, and still ahead for us. Hattie's keeping an eye on those showers headed through our area, and she'll have an update on those flash flood watches coming up.
And it turns out Madison, a pretty great place to celebrate German heritage. We'll tell you where you should be celebrating Oktoberfest when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
Ashley.
All right, we always ask you to share your morning with us here on the program. Linda sent in this beautiful photo that's harkening back to about a month ago when sunflower season was still going strong.
Let's go back there.
We were saying earlier, sunflower season never lasts long enough here in Wisconsin, but boy, does it bring the sunshine into our area.
I mean, does summer ever last long enough here in Wisconsin?
Very good point, Josh. Thank you so much for reminding us, Linda.
If you've got a photo that you'd like to share of your morning, please do so over on our Facebook page.
All right, if you are looking for a place to celebrate your German heritage and enjoy a brew in the meantime, look no further than right here in Madison. Wallet Hub is out with the list of best places for Oktoberfest this year, and our city's on the list. We are number 25 out of 100. Pretty impressive. It all depends on the number of German populations, most German restaurants, and of course, most breweries. New York came in first.
Now I want to brew.
Don't we all?
I'm always ready for that. Happening tonight, live music, food carts, and unique crafts are back in town this evening. Tonight is the final Madison Night Market of the season. The event puts your typical Saturday morning market vendors in prime time, and it's quickly turned into a summertime staple. Local shops extend their hours, and people like Leah and I stay up past their bedtimes to take in all of the fun.
Oh, yeah.
You can head to the final market tonight from 6 until 10 o'clock, and we're going to be there.
Just grab your umbrella.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Do it.
All right, we continue to monitor possible flash flood conditions and some more showers in today's weather. Hattie's got the latest information in today's Alert Day forecast after the break.
But first, it is September 12th, and we want to wish a happy birthday to Natalie and all the other kiddos turning 3 today. You're watching News 3 Now this morning. We thank you for that, and we will be right back.
Look who's
All right, if you're looking for a silver lining to this Thursday, you're not going to find it on our weather cam. Look at that.
Oh, Gosh, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, the sun is going to come back, right, Hattie?
The good news right for the weekend, right?
Yes. Yeah, the weekend forecast actually looks pretty nice. We just have one more rainy day to get through today. And we do have an alert day in the forecast today for all of southern Wisconsin. Showers and thunderstorms early this morning are diminishing pretty quickly, but then they'll return later on today, especially through the evening hours. So if you have a game tonight outside, you might want to pay close attention to the weather. The weather will definitely impact it. Another 1 to 2 inches of rain is possible, and that has prompted a flash flood watch for all of southern Wisconsin. That's all the counties shaded in the light green color. And that's in effect until 1 a.m. on Friday, essentially till the rain threat comes to an end. Now, there's also an aerial flood warning for parts of Grant County. They saw pretty heavy rain overnight, and that aerial flood warning in effect until 11:15. Floodwaters are slowly receding, but it is a slow process. And take a look at the 24-hour precipitation estimates. Again, a bullseye of some pretty heavy rain for far southwestern Wisconsin, and then right along the state line. That's where we saw the heaviest amounts over the last 24 hours. Amounts do diminish as you head to the north and east, but still everyone picking up close to an inch, especially from Madison points to the south and west. About 1.5 inches here in Madison. Here's the latest picture on the radar map for our viewing area. The rain lifting to the north and diminishing rather quickly. There are still some scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms further to the west this morning, but the main bands of rain, the rain that will impact us later on, is still out ahead of a cold front, and that's through Minnesota down to Omaha this morning. There is a slight risk for severe weather with any of those storms later on today, and that slight risk area does get into far southwestern Wisconsin, areas south and west of Madison. For the remainder of the region, it's a marginal risk. Now, here's a look at weather track. Again, there's a warm front that's trying to lift northward through the region. That rain out ahead of the front this morning. The front, unfortunately, I don't think is going to make it through Madison, and we can use our wind forecast to see where that front will make it to this afternoon. Here's 2 p.m. You can see the boundary between the southerly winds and the easterly winds. That'll be the placement of the warm front, and it tries to make it into Madison, but just doesn't do it. So it's going to be a little cooler here today than it was yesterday. The bad news is, though, that we're still stuck with that humidity. Here's a look at your current temperatures this morning. 61 in Madison, into the 50s. Though to the north. Dew points will stay in the mid-60s today, so it is going to be rather sticky even into the afternoon. Your future track forecast model says we have a few hours to dry out here across southern Wisconsin, mainly dry through the lunch hour. Temperatures climbing into the mid-70s south, staying in the 60s, though, to the north today, so quite a contrast in those numbers. The front then moves through the area this evening, and you can see by 6:30 it's already approaching the Madison area. Good news, though, the rain comes to an end overnight, but it could be heavy at times. Another 1 to 2 inches will be possible later today into tonight. It's all done then by tomorrow morning. We start in the low 60s, we'll climb to highs in the low 70s. It'll be a little bit breezy, but we're not done with the 80s just yet. Summer hanging on here with highs in the 80s for most of next week and pretty humid conditions as well. Take a look at Maggie in Verona. What a pretty dog. I think Maggie at 3 o'clock would be able to do a walk, but if you're waiting until after the work hours to do the walk, it might get a little wet.
Beautiful pup.
I love that.
Thank you very much, Hattie.
You're welcome.
All right, stay with us for the morning sprint, but first, here's Gail King with what's ahead at 7 o'clock. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS this morning, how vaping compares to cigarettes. Dr. David Agus joins us with why a nationwide public health emergency has yet to be declared. Plus, tracking down ISIS fighters. We're in Kabul with an elite U.S.-trained Afghan commando unit. And a CBS News investigation uncovers a new Medicare fraud taking advantage of popular genetic test, how it's potentially costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.
6:52, time for the morning sprint with the most local news to start your Thursday.
We begin with Hattie and an alert day for showers and a flood watch across the viewing area. Hattie?
It's an alert day today for southern Wisconsin. We're looking at another 1 to 2 inches of rain possible tonight, and that's on top of what has already fallen. Take a look at the flash flood watches that are in effect for the entire area until 1 a.m. Friday morning for all of southern Wisconsin. We're talking about rain this morning, but it is diminishing and lifting to the north, so a few dry hours for southern Wisconsin before that second batch of rain moves in. Here's a look at rain totals. Again, additional overnight by tomorrow morning. Widespread 1 to 2 inches expected.
We are continuing to monitor that flash flood watch in effect right now here in Beloit. People on social media say this parking lot of the Piggly Wiggly on Prairie Avenue in town was home to about a dozen stalled cars overnight. That is a potential threat heading into the day as that flood watch continues. Rock County Sheriff's Department tells us they responded to 19 calls, many from stalled out drivers. So please, if you see any standing water in your path as you drive to work this morning, turn around, don't drown.
Christina, thank you. Sauk County leaders are worried about possible flash flooding there as well. Right now, there's free sand and sandbags available to county residents at the West Baraboo Garage off of Highway 136. Officials there say if you've experienced flooding in the past, now is the time to prepare.
This week's rainfall also impacting farmers and could delay them even more. Wisconsin Public Radio says 72% of the state's corn crop is about 2 weeks behind the 5-year average. That's not too bad, according to experts, considering the historically late planting season this year. 85% of the state's soybeans are about 3 weeks behind.
Numbers just released by the Department of Public Instruction overnight show Wisconsin students are doing worse in English and math. Test results from the past year show about 39% of students tested as proficient or advanced in English language arts, and about 40% of students were proficient or advanced in math. Both numbers are down about 1% from last year.
The executive director of a Madison after-school program is due back in court for child pornography charges. Jacob Tissue has a bond hearing scheduled for 10:30 this morning. He was arrested 2 weeks ago by McFarland police on a dozen counts of having child pornography. He's been put on leave from the district pending the results of that case.
We could see a verdict as early as today in the trial of a retired Catholic priest who had worked in Fort Atkinson. At least 10 witnesses took the stand yesterday in Jefferson County Court. 2 more are set to testify today. William Nolan is facing 6 felony counts of second-degree child sexual assault. The accuser of a former altar boy at St. Joseph's Catholic School, where Nolan was a priest at the time.
10 leading Democratic candidates for president are set to debate tonight in Houston. Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, and 5 others will square off in the party's third 2020 debate. That starts tonight at 7.
The Supreme Court says the Trump administration is allowed to enforce new rules aimed at keeping many Central American migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. The policy allows only migrants who have been denied asylum in another country or are victims of severe human trafficking to apply for asylum.
An analytics firm is estimating President Trump's trade war with China has already cut U.S. employment by 300,000 jobs. That includes jobs lost and jobs that would have been created. Yahoo Finance says if it continues on its current course, the trade war could kill 900,000 U.S. jobs over just the next year. Manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, and retail are the sectors most affected.
The Trump administration says it is taking steps to ban flavored e-cigarettes. President Trump announced the effort in response to a recent surge in vaping among young people. The FDA is developing guidelines to remove all cigarette flavors except tobacco from the market. E-cig maker Juul says it will fully comply. The American Vaping Association expressed disappointment.
Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul is refusing to join a multi-state settlement with OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma. A $12 billion deal was reached yesterday over the company's role in the opioid epidemic. AG Kaul says the Sackler family has made billions from opioid sales, and the company's settlement does not achieve justice.
Christian Yelich might not be done for the season after all. Reports say Yelich doesn't need surgery and might only miss 6 weeks. A broken kneecap was supposed to keep him out for the rest of the season, but 6 weeks would take him up to the Game 2 of the World Series if the Brewers make it that far.
Those World Series dreams might still be alive, with the Brewers now tied with the Cubs in the playoff race. Mike Moustakas returned to the lineup to hit 2 home runs last night, helping to power the Brewers to a 7-5 win over the Marlins. It was the Brewers' 6th straight win. They go for a four-game sweep in Miami this afternoon.
6:57 now. Jason Stone has a final look at your first alert traffic. Hi, Jason.
Hello. The Beltline continues at the posted speed limit on all lanes without delay. And John Nolan is moving reasonably. Expect to be behind brake lights at Rimrock and Lakeside. With your first alert traffic, I'm Jason Stone.
Jason, thank you very much.
And we've had quite a bit of rain overnight for southern Wisconsin. Now that rain is lifting to the north. Roads may still be wet, though, across southern Wisconsin, so keep that in mind. It is definitely a gray start to the day today. You're not going to need the sunglasses. Trade them in for the umbrella because rain returns later on this afternoon into this evening. Doppler track showing you exactly where you're still seeing some raindrops north and west of Madison this morning, but definitely not as heavy as it was overnight. Temperatures will top in the low 70s today.
Thank you very much, Hattie, and thanks for joining us this morning, folks. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Have a great one.